Welcome to Sharetalk, the only podcast where investors come first.
Welcome to Sharetalk, and today I am speaking with Gaz Bisht again, who is the independent consultant to Empyrean Energy. How are you today there?
Yep, I'm good, Steve.
Right. Now, obviously, the strategy of your company is to finance exploration, development, and production of energy resource projects in geopolitically stable environments. And again, news this week has proved that to be correct. So would you like to give us an update on your Indonesian, Chinese, and now Californian projects, please?
Sure, Steve. So when I spoke to you last in April, at that time we were coming to the shareholders with our entry into Indonesia on Tuyong PSC. And of course, at that spot, we already had interest in China. And then subsequently, we have now last week released entry into California basin. So it might come as a little bit of confusion or surprise to the shareholders that what are we trying to do here with three different assets in three different geographical jurisdiction, and how are we going to drive this business going forward. So why don't I give a little bit of background to why these three assets have been put in place and how they complement each other in regard to strategy, synergy, if you like.
Yes, thanks.
And before I do that, I want to give some operational update, where we are in existing two projects, which is China and Indonesia. Is that fine, Steve?
Yes, definitely.
Perfect. So first up, the Chinese PSC. If you recall, when I was online in April, we announced to the market, and then when I was talking to the shareholder live, I said that we have shortlisted the company who will be acquiring the 3D seismic data for us. So since then, we have made further progress in regard to selecting the vessel for acquiring this 3D and finalize the contract. And more importantly, we have now got the approval from the local authorities. So there you require three types of permits. So the fishery, marine environment, and the Chinese military. And those three permits are critical before the operation starts. So I'm pleased to announce today that all those three permits have been awarded to Empyrean, which means we have effectively got the green light now for acquiring this 3D survey. So what is happening now is that next week I'm flying up to China on Thursday, which is 25th, and then I will meet with the local authorities and then go and visit the large seismic vessel we have, who will be undergoing the seismic survey for us. The purpose of this on-site visit is to make sure that this vessel is up to the operational standard, both technically as well as navigation-wise. And then once that inspection has happened, we will appoint an Empyrean representative who will be going on board during this survey or the acquisition of this 3D seismic data. He will be our person, our representative, sitting in the boat, QCing the data that the data is getting acquired of high quality. There are no shortcuts from the operator, and making sure that he sends every day the daily report to us. So that process will start on the weekend of 26th, 27th. And at this stage, we are looking to commence the 3D acquisition somewhere around 30th of May, which is the Tuesday, I suppose.
It's almost unheard of that people are actively managing a program like that. They normally just get a third-party company in and just allow them to get on with it. Why are you so actively managing that?
So there are, that's a good question, Steve. I mean, normally the third party, being an international company, is supposed to do the top quality work, and that is how they go through the rigor of selecting them via bidding process. But the reason why we want to put our own person there is partly to do with cost saving, if you like. When the seismic survey starts, so there could be some operational issues which could cause delay in acquiring the seismic data. So we want to make sure that operator or the seismic vessel operator is not doing those kind of maneuvering just to increase the cost of the survey. So we want to make sure that that issue is taken care of. And second thing is that this guy who is sitting there on our behalf is an expert in seismic data acquisition. He has over 30 years of experience. What he will provide to the Chinese operators there, his expertise in acquiring the top quality 3D seismic data. So even if we are paying a little bit more money on our behalf, but we want to make sure that this survey, when it is completed, we are absolutely certain that the data quality is top quality and we have kept a control on the cost or the budget of this 3D survey.
Excellent. That sounds very promising, obviously for cost saving effectiveness.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's the whole program is somewhere around 36 to 40 days program. So by July beginning, we will have this survey completed, hopefully without any hitch. And when I come across to London for AGM in August, I will be able to present to the shareholders what this survey has revealed in regard to the prospectivity of this area, and in particular the two key prospects we are acquiring this seismic data over, Topaz and Jade. So our aim is to provide an update to the shareholder on this Chinese project when we come across for AGM in August end.
That's quite a dramatic and quick turnaround in the time frame, considering the size of the data that you're gathering there. Is that obviously going to include the full interpretation and potential oil and gas in place?
No. So what it will give us, I think that's a good question. So as you know, once you have completed the survey, then the processing of this data starts, which in our estimate will take about 3 to 4 months. But what happens, nowadays these boats are so efficient in regard to the data transfer. So what we are hoping that as the data is getting acquired, within July, we should have a first assessment of this data quality there. So when I said I'll share that with the shareholders about how attractive these prospects are, I was referring to this first pass 3D seismic data cube we will have by July end, which will give us an impression, A, the quality of the data, B, the quality of these projects or the prospects. Of course, the final process data will arrive to us around September, October, and of course then it will take us 3 months to do the entire technical evaluation, which will require a migration of oil into these prospects. So that's a long-term game, but we will be able to provide at least some first pass assessment in regard to the size, the quality, and all those kind of things in August when we are up there in London.
Excellent. And obviously on your other projects.
Yes. So as I said, in April we did announce that Indonesian entry, and since then there has been two activity. One is on the corporate side when we were raising capital through open offer, which to our satisfaction and happiness, closed at least 45% people bought into that open offer, and we raised about 1.25 million UK pound. At the same time, we were engaged with the company who's operating that for us in Indonesia in regard to what is happening in securing the rig for drilling this well, and what is the timeline looking like. So we had a meeting with them down in Melbourne a few weeks ago, where they presented their preparedness, if you like, for drilling this well. From Empyrean side, again, we are mindful of what we owe to the shareholder is safe and effective operations. So both in Chinese survey or drilling in Indonesia, we want to make sure that the operator is up to scratch in regard to any issue regarding health, safety, and environment. So we wanted to make sure that the drilling operation in Indonesia goes smoothly. So we all called for that meeting, which they were very kindly obliged and presented the whole day activity there in regard to their preparedness. And I'm happy to report that the operator, Conrad Petroleum, is fully prepared. We will get the rig, we means the joint venture, will get the rig by 6th of June. And it will take about 8 to 10 days to tow the rig from where it will be handed over to the operator to the site where we'll be spudding the well. So at this stage, we are looking to spud the Indonesian well on 15th of June. So it is another important milestone from Empyrean's strategy implementation, if you like, that we not only getting the seismic data acquired in China in this period, we are participating in a well starting on 15th of June. So it's pretty active operation for Empyrean shareholders from that point of view.
So if we go on to our next sort of piece of news, and this is a new project, and it's a multi-project farm-in Sacramento Basin, California. Could you just provide us a summarization of why it is that you sort of felt compelled to go into this new project with so much news front on your other projects?
So this Sacramento Basin project has been on our radar for over 8 months, and of course in between the China happened and the Indonesia happened, but we were mindful of the commercial or the fiscal terms we have in Indonesia and China. If you recall, both are petroleum sharing contract, which is called PSC, which of course has its attraction in a low to medium oil price environment or gas price environment because of the cost recovery mechanism built within them. But these are the long-term projects. They will take at least, for example, Indonesia, even if we prove the flow of gas there, it will take us at least 2 to 3 years before we can get this gas to the market, which means Empyrean will have cash flow coming from either Indonesia or China. In China, even it is a long-term game, so we are acquiring the data now. Then next year we will interpret it and farm it out. Then we will drill the well in 2019, 2020. And then if we have to add another 5 years before the oil is come to the market, so we will be somewhere around 2025. So what we wanted to do is that get some kind of cash flow, immediate cash flow to the company. Now that's where this Californian exposure comes into play. If you recall, US has the largest network of oil and gas than anywhere in the world. In this particular project, the Sacramento Basin project, the operator has access to existing metering and gas pipelines. So the first well, for example, as I was describing, there are two key projects in California, Dempsey and Alvarez. Dempsey, we aim to have 25% equity. It's a multi-TCF conventional gas project. And interestingly, this could be drilling as early as third quarter of this year. And it's a 3,800 meter deep well. But if we have success here, we can hook it up by September. So in a way, we will be able to generate some cash flow for the company, for the shareholders, which will underpin our activity in Indonesia and China, effectively from September, October timeframe. So that was the main attraction for us to get into Sacramento Basin. It sits very nicely with strategy synergy with China and Indonesia, which are much more longer term. And here, because Sacramento Basin is a prolific gas producing, over 14 TCF of gas has already been produced here. Our technical understanding is, these are top-notch prospect, easy to drill. For example, the dry hole cost is $3.2 million compared to 6 million in Indonesia and maybe 12 million in China. So even if we have 25% interest in Dempsey project, for example, in Sacramento basin, we are up for only $1.6 million. So our dollar is going to go longer here and also possibly giving us the cash flow as early as September and October this year. So I hope, that with this onset, I wanted to, capture a little bit about strategy. Why California and why now, effectively?
Well, it seems obviously like a short-term gain, hopefully, if things obviously go to plan. And
absolutely,
as you said, and it fits in quite well with the sort of geopolitical strategy as well. So hopefully there'll be some good news flowing out of there as well as the gas.
Yep.
So what sort of are the main priorities then, just to summarize, for the rest of 2017? And how many drills are you expecting to proceed with this year?
Yeah, so the priorities are firstly participating and managing these operational activity, seismic and tool drilling, safely and without any health safety issues, because that's quite critical for a company of Empyrean size. We don't want to expose the shareholder on any kind of insurance and all those kind of issues there. So that's the main focus. Second, we want to, through these activities, we want to keep the transformational value from China and Indonesia in our side, which will underpin the growth of the company in 2019 and beyond. But at the same time, we want to get hold of some cash flow coming into the company via California. If we are, there are two targets, the shallow target and deep target. The shallow target has less risk, geological risk, compared to the deeper targets. And with a little bit of luck and a little bit of serendipity, if we can prove gas in both those zones, that will be an excellent outcome for the company and for the shareholders. You said, foreseeing what we will be doing, so we can. I can clearly see that China, post the seismic acquisition, it will be purely analyzing the data, building the information memorandum for farming it out in early 2018, farming out the interest, because remember, we have 100% interest in that permit there. So that's the focus on China. Indonesia, post flow of the gas there, we will be debating whether we should acquire a 3D, which would take us completely through the remaining 2017. In 2018, again, we will review the data and see where we want to drill the next well. But if in California, if we are successful this first Dempsey well, and we are able to hook it up into the existing gas grid there, depending upon the gas quality we'll be producing, our drilling focus will move to California from that in a short-term basis, because we will be quickly appraise it. Because remember, in California, the moment you drill the well, you are able to hook it up immediately on the flow line. So we will be, in terms of the drilling activity, the focus will change to California in a short term, because it's a cheaper wells. While we will be analyzing the data and building the drilling inventory in China and Indonesia, activity in Indonesia will ramp up in late quarter of 2017 and early 2018.
Gaz, is there anything further that you would like to add?
No, I think all I would like to say that I will join Empyrean shortly as a full term and in a board that is getting negotiated, and I'm really excited about a company of Empyrean size. We are able to quickly stitch up 3 deals, still managing the cash flow or cash exposure, if you like, by maintaining the smaller equities where activities are happening now and larger equity where the activity will happen later on. and at the same time trying to build this cash flow, which is so critical in our business upfront. So I'm pretty excited about our drive and our push in framing strategy, and more importantly, executing it the way we wanted to execute it. So I'm quite excited about Empyrean.
Gaz, I hope everything goes as well as it sounds it should do, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the future.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for giving me this opportunity.
Not a problem. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you for listening. Remember to visit our website for more news and other podcasts at www.share-talk.com.